Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keep It Spiritually Simple. I'm your host, Sandra McEllis. And boy, oh boy, today we've got two powerful guests to talk about addiction. But before we do that, we don't want you to miss any episodes or any part twos or threes of current episodes. Please hit like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment. Even if you have a question, we might be able to answer it on the next episode. So today, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome, welcome. And we have Jason and Heather Powers, who are addiction specialists. And they're going to talk to you a little bit about how they kind of teamed up and started all of this and what it means to them and how it could help you, and maybe share some insight on the power of what addiction has on all of us. So welcome, Jason and Heather.
Well, thank you, Sandra, for having us today. I love how this actually even came to be. I got a message from Sandra, and she basically, what I understand is you just sat in meditation and you let spirit guide you. And at the time, we weren't even really connected. We weren't even aware of each other.
That's
And I
amazing.
really truly believe that this is a divine moment, everybody. I believe that the spirit of God, of love, of whatever you call that universal intelligence, has opened the portals and the doorways for this conversation with this beautiful being. So thank you, Sandra, for having us.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
you're very welcome, and thank you. And thank you for bringing that up, because I was in a meditation and I was asking for, topic of addiction and some things I was going through. And next thing I know, on my Facebook popped up Jason, and I was like, "What?" And so I knew it was a message, and so I clicked, "Hi, how are you?" And then sent a messenger message. And then within hours, he responded, and we had a conversation, and here we are. So
Mhm.
again, this is a non-rehearsed show, so we're just going to go with the flow because we speak from the heart. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
amazing. Yeah, it's so good to be with you. He was so excited when that happened. And, we all follow synchronicity. It's like you just get to watch how spirit just brings things together, and it's always fun. It's always more fun than we could plan, really.
And we
Yes.
were talking
Right?
about it before we got live here, just that this has been a while for those that,
Mm.
are going to see us for the first time in a long time. We've been quiet. We've been really,
Mm-hmm.
as we said earlier, we're just kind of in the trenches,
Mm.
in the real gritty work of healing, of recovery,
Yeah.
of returning to this heart and soul. And it's been a good 2, 3 years, I think, for us
Yeah.
since we've
Three
really done
years.
any podcasts. So this is a little nervous, I'll be honest with you. We're
Yeah.
like, whoa, okay, we're talking again
Yeah.
in this kind of format because we
We
talk
talk all
every
day.
day
We talk all day.
in group format, but
Yeah.
it's good to be here. So,
Well, we need to let people know that this is a real topic.
Yeah.
And,
Sure.
we already know about the standard AAs and NAs and different things, but, maybe we don't know enough about other programs that are being created and that you
Mhm.
all represent and have created. And maybe, some of the old programs and platforms that don't work anymore. Um, and then, of course, we're in January where everyone's turning over new leaves, and these habits weren't helping me, and I really want assistance with it. So, how do we help people at the end of the month say, "Hey, I made it a month. I actually did
Mhm.
this, but I did it differently," and then shout it from the rooftops. So,
mhm.
tell us a little bit about what you all do.
Mm. Go for it. I'll just pony off of whatever you share.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
what we do, we go in on a day in and day out, and we are addiction specialists at functioning as group facilitators in
Mm.
residential treatment and detox homes
Mm.
across Los Angeles and Ventura County. And we're serving about 9 to 10 homes. We have a team with us, and we are in conversation from psychospiritual coping skills, tools, mindfulness practices, ways to engage and help these clients who are doing their best to uh, remain sober,
Mm.
recover, heal from trauma, and
Mhm.
connect to their spiritual truth.
Yeah. We both have had experience in our lives with addiction of different forms. I think that's the nature of addiction, as we were talking a little bit earlier, is that it tends to, in different seasons, take on different forms for each one of us. and relationships being at the bottom of that, where, early on in our life we learn adaptive coping mechanisms that are largely unconscious. And what we did before we came into addiction recovery, was we worked with couples. We worked in our own relationship to try and heal those patterns of codependency and struggle using relationship as a coping mechanism, right? Excuse me, I have to sneeze.
The
Excuse
truth.
me.
Bless you.
That's the truth.
It might come again. Um, so when this opportunity came, which was a totally divine appointment, and Jason can share a little bit more about how it even entered our lives, but it felt like such a natural evolution of our work, because of both of our struggle with it in different forms and how it impacted our relationship at different levels. And so we could just see a through line. Like you were saying earlier, there's not anybody I know that doesn't battle with addiction at some level. And I think really taking the shame and the sting out of having it be a conversation that touches every family, every couple in some kind of a way, and understanding what it is that our heart is really longing for, that we're filling with counterfeits to try and regulate our body, our nervous system, that feeling, that ache inside of us, a lot of times that we feel like we're just not enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, because many of us don't realize it's not just a brain, dysregulation, it's a nervous system dysregulation because
Totally.
we have stored so much.
Yeah.
And I've always said that our subconscious is a 24-hour 7 surveillance camera. It
So
takes in
true.
things that we don't even know that we just took in because it's like a camera shutter that's just taking live all day long,
Mm,
24/7. So something that could be occurring down the hall that we're not present for, but we're overhearing maybe some violence,
mm-hmm.
or something that's not of balance, and we're storing that as little children. And
Mm-hmm.
then we find things to do to compensate. We have no idea that we're actually consciously compensating.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, things are out of control
Mm-hmm.
and you're taking on all different kinds of behaviors that then sort of take over the personality, but not necessarily was part of the Constitution to begin with.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's so well said, Sandra. Like
Truly.
growing up as a kid, I grew up in an alcoholic home, third generation probably alcoholism. Like it's just third generation pastor's kid, third generation alcohol alcoholism just infiltrated my family system and my family dynamics. And so you just don't know as a child how do you deal with this traumatic energetics, so you find a coping skill.
Mm-hmm.
And I found for myself personally, I found my dad's pornographies at age 11 and was like, oh, this feels right. This feels comforting. This feels secure. And so it led a neural pathway of addiction to pornography for many years of my life. And so that's what led me to the rooms of recovery and led me to understanding actually, the first thing I ever picked up it was a book by Debbie Ford called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Great book. And it introduced me to the shadow work. And I was like, journaling, God, why is this here? Why can't I shake this? I want to do the right thing. And so understanding the nature of addiction has been our work before we got into the work that we're doing, to go into the internal world, to not shame it, to understand it, to
Mm-hmm.
understand the shadow and the ego. And like, you don't want to kill this. You want to make friends with it. You want to know what it's trying to tell you and to learn to create a whole self, has been what the 10,000 hours, as we like to say, that prepared us for the journey that we've been on for the last few years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that when we come together in a relationship, like he said, I came from a very different kind of a background, of having to have a spiritual persona from very early on in my life. And so I learned with, traumas that had occurred earlier in my life that I had to hide what was going on. It was kind of like, and I think that sometimes the 12-step programs can almost mimic kind of a religious kind of a program, that there's a stigma to struggling. If you relapse, now you got to start all over and you got to announce it to everybody, and all of these kind of, the feeling of always being under the microscope. And so I battled early on with opiates and with alcohol and with sex and with food and anything that would make me feel or not feel. And I think that's a lot of it is just, reaching for something outside of us to help us feel what we want to feel and feel connected. Because there is that mimic that happens sometimes, those first few drinks or that, whatever that hit of whatever substance it is that makes us feel like, oh, there I am, that defense is removed. And so there is something that's trying to connect, but as you said, some of these programs I think keep us in a program rather than realizing who it is we really are underneath all of these layers of programming that we've adopted as truth.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the 12-step program, and you know, hey, it got created when there wasn't anything else, right?
Right,
But
yeah.
we have evolved so much and watched addiction really become almost very mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're only 1 degree of separation, or we're right smack dab in it within our own family unit, one way or the
Mm-hmm.
other. And so I just think that we're here now at the time of evolution and change. And so these obsolete programs just need to be closed out and new windows need to be open.
Mm,
And so that expansion can occur one person at a time, that hopefully becomes a group, becomes a collective, right? And I think that's a lot of what you guys are doing. So you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced your own
Mm-hmm.
of what worked and didn't work.
mm,
And then you're also hearing what is working energetically, physically, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
psychologically with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
you're getting your answers every single day,
Every day.
every
Yeah.
day.
It's really, really true.
And it's like the statistics, we can talk the statistics, but the statistics we don't really spend our energy and time on
Mm-hmm.
because it can be overwhelming because, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we're at 8 billion plus on the planet. I mean, we're in a dark node in a lot of ways, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of addiction and a lot of stuff. But once we get to the root cause of it and understand the statistics, what we're seeing around us, we get connected. And a lot of our friends that we've worked with are going to probably see this, and we
Mm-hmm.
say, we love you. We thank you for your
Mm-hmm.
trust and your openness for us in your life. Because we are connected to those that have left and they're doing great. They've got a year, they've got extended time and they're being purposeful and they're doing
Yeah.
great things in their life. And then we have those that
Mm.
we just recently lost a beloved one that we
A
loved.
couple.
Couple, two,
Yeah.
three actually,
Two. Yeah.
that we heard it said in by a man who's been in this industry just last weekend. He says, if you're in this industry to help people, you're screwed
Yeah. So
because
true.
we want to help, we want to be of impact. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, not everybody's going to want to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the hardest things, Sandra, to be in the
Mm-hmm.
spaces where you scatter the seeds, as Jesus talks about the parable of the sower, right? Some seeds are going to land on hard soil. Some of them are going to land on a receptive heart that says, yes, I feel your love. I feel your
Mm-hmm.
compassion. I feel something spiritual. I don't know what that may be, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel I'm starting to wake up the fire inside my own heart. And that's what we're always trying to do ultimately is fan
Mm-hmm.
that flame.
Yeah.
Just blow air, which from our words, our love, compassion,
Mm-hmm.
oneness, remember who you are. And we do it in unique ways with psychospiritual skills, but we can't get caught up. That's been the hardest thing is that,
Yeah.
you're going to be let down in this world if you're always trying to help people and people don't want to be helped because
Mhm.
that's not where everybody's at.
It's really true. I think we learned, and it was a challenge probably the first year to develop a thick enough skin to have really healthy detachment from what we were doing day in and day out because there's a lot of people that come in for help that haven't hit their bottom, or they've hit multiple bottoms and they're almost numb to the bottoms. And I think one of the things that we're recognizing is that the generations that are younger than us are dealing with a much different world that they are growing up in and developing in. And there's a hopelessness to the level that I think as in our generation we don't quite understand experientially. with social media, with what's going on in the world, with the, propaganda that's being pumped in, fear, just constant fear and division. And, um, we, like Jason said, loving them, seeing the wholeness in them, and really operating from that level of truth and not worrying about, because you said something earlier that I totally believe that this is true, is when we declare I am something and we keep programming our body, our cells are always listening, and there's no way to continue to break through something if you're affirming that something is wrong and broken all the time. And so we are the powers of love. I think that the moniker that I think Spirit gave us early on means more every day, because that love is the medicine. When people start to feel like they're loved and seen and they're okay to bring all of what's inside out without judgment, that's when people start to be motivated to change.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think when we're pure of heart and we have compassion and we have understanding beyond conditions,
Mm-hmm.
we don't stop throwing the seeds. We
That's
don't
right.
stop throwing the lifelines.
Yeah.
And we're not throwing them because we're saying, everybody latch on, come my way, because we're not soliciting. We're just sharing maybe a different alternative to open up different neural pathways and maybe
Mm-hmm.
help you shut down the ones that aren't working for you. So
Mhm.
those who are open to it will come. And if they're coming to you, they're 50% in the door.
That's
The
Mm-hmm.
right.
other 50% is going to be on them at all times, with or without being in your presence in these homes that you go to,
Mhm.
facilities and individuals that you work with.
Yeah.
That's on them because that's going to be their inner strength. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to you for learning how to detach, but still have the courage to throw the seeds and the
That's right.
lifelines and saying, hey, brothers and sisters, I'm here for you. If
Yeah.
it, but you know, you got to come and get it. I can't just bring it to you.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to teach you how to fish.
Yeah. It's
Right.
really
I
true.
got to teach you how to tie your shoe.
That's
you
right.
know so you got to take baby steps, but in ways that help them reconnect, because not everyone's suffering from debilitating trauma,
Mm-hmm.
but not everybody's teacup is the same size.
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
what might affect me in no way could affect someone else to the point where they need to go to bed.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to honor each other's nervous systems and the anxiety and all that gets created from the trauma drama. And of course, the longer the series, the deeper the root
Mm-hmm.
and the more work we have to do. But
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
declaring I am healthy, just simply I am healthy. And I'm going through my life's lessons as I am,
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
just
Well
as I
said.
am. And
Mm-hmm.
the outcome will just teach me another way or
Mhm.
confirm what it is that I'm doing. I think if we could simplify, all of this to do, gotta do. Oh, that was a failure. Oh dear, I failed. I got to go back to step one, right? Sometimes you never feel like you got out of step two, three, and four successfully. So I
Mm-hmm.
think when we put that burden or that heavy load on ourselves, we may fall deeper into not understanding why we're being drawn to whatever it is we're being drawn to, that is creating a control over our self-regulation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we're giving our power away.
Right.
And
You
this is
know,
an
there's
opportunity to take it back. And I think
Yes.
that's what you're offering.
Yes.
And
100%.
it's there's something that's really on my heart to share here in this space, because you said, like, I don't want to shame the 12-step movement and what everybody is,
Yeah.
because there is power in those steps that I believe that if you really understand, like,
Mm-hmm.
look, I can't keep doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it. Step one.
Mm-hmm.
Step two, there's something greater than myself. I'm coming to understand that there's a higher power, whatever you
Mm-hmm.
call that. You find it and then you surrender to it, and you come to reconciliation and righteousness in a sense of right, or pono, ho'oponopono, right? Pono, I'm in right relationship with life and people and
Mm-hmm.
organisms and organizations. And there's power in that. I make amends and I come correct, you know? I don't come with a low Eeyore, I'm such a mess. But no, I come like, look, I honor you and I want to make amends. I did not,
Mm-hmm.
and please forgive me. That whole Ho'oponopono is powerful. We introduce that to our clients, right? And this idea of them being of service and continuing to take personal inventory. There's power in the 12 steps. And
Yeah.
so I got this idea, and I take clients to a great program called Recovery Dharma that's built on the Buddhist principles. There is no fear. It's like you don't have to identify. There is no hierarchy of sponsorship and people telling you what to do. And that's where the danger of the human comes in and tries to take their stuff out and control somebody, and that's a whole nother level. But there are some beautiful souls that have gone through the 12 steps
Absolutely.
that are just the salt of the earth and humble and connected
Absolutely.
and but it's like just Christianity. We both come from traditional Christianity. It's like you wring out the goodness.
Mhm.
We don't want to throw away Jesus, Yeshua. We want to understand that there are people, there are humans that have grabbed onto ideology and theology and dogma and then use the ego to do weird things with it.
Yeah.
And so we're deconstructing all that in a sense of just going, look, there's, you know, the value of the power of love. Like
Yeah.
ultimately, that's what we're trying to do is to bring them to that.
Totally well said, babe. I think what we're learning, and it's kind of what you were touching on earlier, Sandra, is that no teacup, I like as you put it, but nobody has the same size teacup. Nobody has a path like anybody else's. And our death and resurrection and ascension, or whatever words you want to put around this inner process that's going on for each one of us is unique to our experience. There's no collective healing, no collective salvation per se, right? This is a process that each person has to embark on their own journey, which is what the hero and heroine's journey, is kind of meant to be. It's like I have to take responsibility for that. And one of the things I think we've learned is you cannot estimate or calculate when somebody's time to be tapped on the shoulder and now it's time you have the something shifted where you're ready to take responsibility and recognizing that some people they don't get there. Some people don't get there this time around. And I think that's really been a big pill to swallow and to understand that even in the grand scheme of things, there's an eternal perspective that we don't understand fully with our minds, that there's something bigger than just this temporal reality that we're walking through, that the seeds that are sown have lasting implication beyond when this tent is let go of. And we really believe that to be, a foundation. When you start to see that we are divine beings having a human experience, it kind of shifts the perspective or whatever way you want to say it. We are consciousness having, a limited perspective in this body.
Yeah, because we don't really know if we made a list of things that we wanted to do, to conquer, to be, to become, to
Right.
create before we incarnated. We don't
Mhm.
know. But if we
Right.
could look at it as, okay, well, that's a possibility. Now let me take a really good look at my life up to this very moment. And is it where I want to be? Is it actually how I want to feel? Because it really
Mhm.
comes down to how do you feel about the me, myself, and I in this
Mhm.
existence called my life at the moment?
Mhm.
And do I have the courage to step into making necessary changes, even if they're just tiny tweaks every single day?
Mhm.
But let me ask you, do you think recovery can exist without a lifelong self surveillance?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Actually, I've been listening. You just sparked him. So I've been listening
I
to a
love that.
great podcast called Turning to the Mystics, and it's Jim Fleming, and he's reading, going through Saint Teresa of Avila, this Christian mystic, and she talks about the different mansions in the
Mhm.
castle. And in the fourth mansion,
Mhm.
they talk about like when in the first mansion, you're just like, oh, there's this prayer thing. I feel it, but then I get swayed into the world and I get pulled. And by the fourth mansion, and I think there's seven of them, but by the fourth mansion, there's this absorption that happens. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like you've expanded your container, but you obviously have done the work. You connected, whether it was 12 steps, church, smart recovery, recovery dharma, whatever that
Mhm.
was, you
Mhm.
found a way to work on yourself and be
Mhm.
diligent, and you've expanded your container. And now God, spirit, the universal intelligence of all that is, comes rushing in and absorbs you. And now you're like operating almost just in flow state of like, despite me. And it's like you don't shame yourself anymore. There's none of that. You
Hmm.
know that, hey, I'm an imperfect, beautiful being.
Hmm.
So the shame and guilt's no longer playing the game. The ego doesn't have that pull anymore.
Hmm.
And you're in a place of like, life is good. Life is God. I'm good. And I'm no
I am
longer,
God.
I
I
am that
am.
I
Hmm.
am. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's a beautiful thing. And I love that you asked that because, yeah, I think living in service is the most beautiful thing about why people continue to go to meetings.
Yes.
And it's powerful because you have a portal, you have a fellowship, you have a community, you have a purpose. My father's 26 years sober, and I pray that he sees this. Like, I honor the work that he's done with the
Hmm.
indigenous and the prisons, and it gives him that purpose-driven life
Hmm.
in the fellowship of AA. And mind you, this is a man. He and I we're beautiful today. I hear from him every night, But I grew up hating this man, and his journey and his decision to work on his recovery works for him. As
Hmm.
Heather said, it's not a one size fit all. Some of us can go no hands on the bike, and we can live a life connected and in service.
I just, as you're sharing, I'm so struck with every one of us we're just so unique. Our temperaments are unique. Our situations are unique. There is no one size fits all for anything. And I I think just understanding that even in, a place where I love where you said no need for self-surveillance any longer or identity. Because those parts of us, there's in step 9, interestingly, it says something to the effect of that we don't wish to close the door on our past.
It's a promise.
We're not looking at the past as a problem any longer. Those were the things that actually brought me to a deeper understanding and awareness of myself and the power that lies inside of me to choose. That is our biggest gift that we have here on the is our gift of choice. We always are at choice, but sometimes not recognizing, like you said, that I am is what I am. And now I'm ready to actually work with that. But everybody has such a different way that they receive that truth or that information. And I think for some, especially the ones that we have experienced, have like religious trauma, programming type of trauma, where it's like this way or you're bad, this way or it's not the right way. They need something a little softer, a little bit more exploratory for the defense to come down where they could actually receive what their soul is wanting to give them.
Yeah, and I,
Hmm.
I think people in general, from my observation anyway, is coming to the realization of self-love
Hmm.
because no one really knows how to define that because it's a
Yeah.
feeling, right? They look at it all the conditions in which they've lived it, but maybe they've never really felt it. And
Hmm.
so then that falls into I'm not worthy of that because I don't understand it. So something must be wrong with me. I must be broken or
Yeah.
I think differently, I feel differently. And it's really just bringing people to the closeness of their heart to the divine divinity of who you really are and realizing you're okay just the way you are. You went through some lumps and bumps. You want to keep doing it or you want to make some changes or, you know, where are you right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so well
Yep.
said. I know for myself in my own
Totally.
personal journey is that, dealing with the big people that I grew up with, they
Mm-hmm.
weren't present, they weren't available. There was rejection and abandonment wounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it created this belief system that I'm not loved and I'm not lovable and I'm not worthy of a good
Mm-hmm.
life, and so doing that deep work to go, I am loved and I am lovable and I have been as long as I can remember was a game changer in my own personal life, and then tapping in, of course, to the presence and the ultimate power of divine love
Mm-hmm.
and remembering, I'm not the brokenness. I'm not my history. I'm not my mistakes. And this is what, when we run our groups, Andrew, it's not,
Mm-hmm.
I always say it's not top down. We're not giving you a bunch of data. You know, it's not trying to convert you to an idea. It's not trying to convince you of an idea. It's not trying to condemn or critique your ideas. It's like connect heart to heart,
Mm-hmm.
that heart, your heart, we want what you want, and we're all here. trying to love ourselves a little bit better and try to love the other. We often say, and this is why what the relationship that we worked at before we got into treatment is that relationship is the key to everything. How you do relationship is how you do
Mm,
everything. And your relationship with yourself, with the others, and with the God of your understanding
mm,
determines your peace of mind and everything. And so that triangle of relationship
mm,
is where we're kind of frameworking everything and then supporting you and like find an access to a higher power, find clear away that the
mm,
blocks to the awareness that what the Course in Miracles talks about, the return to love, is just you realize that you are love and you never have not been not that. That
mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I keep thinking about all of the ugh, ancestral passed down that you're born into sin and you're not worthy and you better do this and you better go here and you better get blessed
Mhm.
by this and this deed and that deed. And so, even if you yourself have broken away from that, it's still in your DNA lineage. So it's in your memory
100%.
systems,
Yes. Oh my
right?
word.
And that's a
That
lot to overcome.
it is a lot to overcome. I think just in, as you were sharing, the deeper that our own self-love has come online, it's been game changing in the way I think that we even lead groups or even communicate because we can talk about something, but if we haven't experienced it, we can only lead people as far as our own experience goes, right? And so I think it's been such a beautiful process in our relationship and our, really understanding our own codependent patterns and where inadvertently and unconsciously, because of our backgrounds, used each other to try and soothe and regulate, or fix or stay safe to create safety. And you're so right that the more that self-love is a lived reality, those boundaries that we have naturally start to assert themselves to protect that really innocent, pure, unbroken part of us. And we naturally have a different sense of discernment, being able to pass that on to people, just be a living transmission of it so much as not necessarily a teaching, but a transmission of it being a real lived experience. And people sense that beyond what their logic can
Mhm.
figure out, right?
Well, you figure with our energy fields, we have physical form, we have energetic form.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're emanating and you're fueling and feeding
Yeah.
and coexisting coherently with this energy that's around you, that
Mm-hmm.
is what's going to reach out and touch the next
Absolutely.
person, not this,
That's
not
right.
this expression. It's that. So if they're matching, which is what you're saying, you all have just congealed into this way of representing love, not only in your own relationship, but growing in the relationships of the work that you do. That
Mm-hmm.
is freaking powerful.
Yeah.
It is. It's transformative, and that we often say, like, we've come to understand that the solution to addiction is not abstinence,
Mm-hmm.
it's not control, it's not willpower, right? The solution to addiction is connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we run our groups, Sandra, we just do such a job to help them connect, and
Mm-hmm.
we can start the engine a little bit, and then boom, and now they're connecting to one another and they're peer supporting each other and sharing their stories. And we just go, there we
Yeah.
are, there you go,
Yeah.
and you create connection. When you have connection, I was just with three clients yesterday, three different men from different parts of the United States, and they're so bonded. They've been together for 40 days and they support each other and they're honest and they're authentic and they're
Mm-hmm.
having fun. And one man's like, I've never been able to have fun. These guys pull out that. And that's when things come
Yeah.
online. And so we just do our job to foster that
Yeah.
safe space
Mm-hmm.
to feel seen and valued and supported.
Yeah.
And when people have that and they can continue to cultivate that when they leave us, they will do just fine,
Mm-hmm.
if they continue that consistent, work that got them thus far.
It's so true. When they've had the living experience of it, it's interesting to see because sometimes those ones come back, but they've had the taste, and sometimes that relapse and the contrast they understand now what it is that they're hungry for rather than just being part of a behavior modification program rather than an inward love transformation. And I think what's so fun daily, we do every morning we do morning intentions with goals and gratitude. And one of the elements is we have these oracle cards that we bring out, just, positive. We use different ones at different times depending on who the group is and what the tone of, who we're working with. But the synchronicity, the level of synchronicity when these small little groups have created such connection with each other and we've got a synergy with them, it's so fun to see them turn on and realize that there's something working on their behalf because their heart's opening, because they're available, because they're seeing possibility and just being open to it in a way that they've never ever experienced before. It gives me chills thinking about it because it happens every day and
All the time.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also think with addiction, we are, and that's with food, alcohol, medications, over the counter, controlling relationships, whatever it may be, we're on a dopamine serotonin roller coaster that's never stopping.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Yep.
and if we can get the endorphins up and get the happy meter up there and go, whoa,
Yep.
this is what, you know, and then some of this other stuff, sort of the inflammation of the other sort of calms down and allows things to find some homeostasis so that you can not only feel, but you can think and see things with more clarity.
That's right.
So true.
That's right.
So true. And
Yeah,
so
well
other
said.
things naturally kind of don't have the same grip that they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh my goodness, we are going to have to do multiple episodes because
Oh,
I think there's a
okay.
lot here that we can share. I want to talk more, getting into maybe some root causes of addiction, maybe give some examples of, you know, uh, people allowing that to be a runaway train and how they pull it back together and stop it and dock it and get off that train and create their own,
Mhm.
happy place or happy train and get on that. And I want to hear more about your story and what brought you together.
Mhm.
So I hope you're amenable to coming back.
We would love that.
Yeah, we'd
We'd
love
love
to.
that.
Oh my
Thank you
goodness.
for this conversation. It is effortless.
Absolutely.
It's a joy to speak.
Truly. Yeah.
It is. And what I want you to do, if you would please, is tell the audience where they can find you, where they can look you up and how they can get in touch with you if they need to.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's simple. Just go to www.thepowersoflove.com. That's a really great way to connect to us. That's where you can message us, get in touch. We're putting out newsletters.
Mhm.
Our focus is really it's evolving and continued. So we've been relationship coaches, but relationship with the focus of addiction because we know addiction can just ruin a relationship and we can guide you and provide for you a way to be seen, whether you're the one functioning in the addiction
Mhm.
or you're the one dealing with this is just ravaging my heart and I don't know what to do. And so, please get a hold of us at thepowersoflove.com.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Go
Definitely
ahead.
sign up for the newsletter because we're kind of ramping up a whole series of things that are going to be really fun for this coming year. So,
Well, I'm sure your newsletter is going to have a lot of information for not just people who have addiction, but would like to have a better relationship with themselves, their
absolutely.
God self, their
Yes.
relationship with their world that they, which is our demographics, right? Um, and I think that that's where we are here in 2026. The unhappiness has hit
Mhm.
so many people for so long
Mhm.
that people really want to step away and get out of this crazy, monotonous, you know, web that we've been stuck in and create something more simple and
Mhm.
simplified and heart centered.
That's right.
Love
Well
it.
said.
Yeah.
But the simple.
Well, your links will be in the description. We're going to have you back. So in the meantime, stay put because I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience. And everybody, please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment. Please go to the Powers of Love, sign up for the newsletter. I think it can help you individually and collectively within, friends, family. You never know because these conversations come up and then all of a sudden someone else just said something. You're like, oh my gosh, I just heard this podcast. I just met Jason and Heather, and oh my goodness, this is hello. And that is how divine timing and
That's
Yes.
right.
synchronicity works.
Yes.
Yeah, because you get the tools.
You're
All
right.
right, say goodbye, Jason and
Love
Heather.
you all. Thank you for listening.
Wonderful. Much
See you again soon.
Bye, everybody.